When we think of open world games, we usually think of monstrously big AAA worlds with millions of map markers, endless cities to explore, and countless NPCs with streams of dialogue. However, the phenomenon of open world games isn't something that the AAA scene has a monopoly on. In fact, the indie gaming scene offers a vast range of open worlds, and I would argue that some of them far surpass that of the AAA gaming scene. Indie games tend to offer much more pocket-sized worlds by comparison, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. In these games, there's no bloat, no filler content, and each aspect of the world is made from a place of love and passion rather than a place of necessity, or worse, for the sake of making profit. So with that in mind, we want to fight indie gaming's corner and show off some of the most eye-catching and immersive open worlds that the little guys have to offer. So let's take a look at some of those, shall we? This is Indie Game Culture's list of the best indie open world games you need to play in 2024. In at number 1 we have Outer Wilds. When considering making an indie open world game, Outer Wilds is the benchmark that any developer should aspire to. Outer Wilds began as a university project but eventually grew into an award-winning pocket solar system time-loop adventure like no other. It's a game that offers a meticulously crafted mystery that can only be unraveled through exploration, a lust for knowledge, and a whole lot of trial and error. You'll set off in your janky little spaceship and you will literally need to get to know an entire solar system to crack the case and break the time loop you find yourself trapped in. It's a game with no quest markers, very few pointers, and no real sense of urgency. You simply cover ground at your own pace and enjoy the ride as you go. It's an enthralling, awe-inspiring, and truly special indie experience that I could not recommend more. So if you want an interstellar adventure to remember, this is the game that you've been waiting for. In at number 2, we have A Short Hike. When I said that open worlds don't need to be gargantuan in size to leave a lasting impression on the player, A Short Hike is a game that proves that point perfectly. In this game you play as Claire, a little bird who needs to climb to the top of the mountain on the island to get cell phone reception, and to do this you'll need to collect feathers, coins, and help the locals to get the resources needed to make the not so short hike to the top. The in-game world is tiny in comparison to other open worlds, and you can fly around the circumference of the island in about 15 seconds if you really pick up speed. However, the smaller world allows you to memorize each little pocket of this world, navigate it with no need for a map or HUD, and ensures that each encounter is a worthwhile and whimsical one rather than some throwaway procedurally generated NPC. Thanks to the Dreamcast-era chunky polygon visuals, the satisfying platforming, and the traversal mechanics and varied quests, this game offers a short but sweet adventure that is perfect for a lazy afternoon gaming session. In at number 3 we have Disco Elysium. If you're looking for a game that really emphasizes player choice and the open world game staple of go anywhere, do anything, then there are few better games we could recommend than Disco Elysium. This title is a CRPG game where players will take the role of Harry Dubois, or Raphael Ambrosius Cousteau if you prefer, and will need to work together with straight-laced detective Kim Kitsuragi to solve the murder mystery involving the Hanged Man. This is how the game begins, but before long you'll have insurmountable opportunities to peel yourself away from the main quest and explore Revachol to your heart's content by searching for karaoke songs to sing, sourcing drugs for the local kids, or discovering which type of heraldic bird best suits your personality. The amount of distractions around you is astounding, and with so many branching choices, you could do each side quest multiple times and continue to enjoy new and often humorous experiences. Revachol is just the gift that keeps on giving, and the world is so dense with lore and detail that one playthrough simply isn't enough to see all that Disco Elysium has to offer, so for something that promises a ton of replay value, this is the game to go for. In at number 4 we have Seable. Usually when you play an open world game you expect a lot of encounters with characters, or a lot of run-ins with dangerous creatures and monsters to keep it exciting. However, it isn't always the blueprint for success, and Seable proves that. Seable is a title a lot like modern Zelda games, where you will explore a vast open desert region as you set off on your gliding, a tribal ritual where you'll set off into the world to find your true calling. You'll be able to climb, glide, and race around on your glider to get around this sizable world. And in between these solitary moments, the game will be punctuated by little settlements and cities where you'll take on quests, acquire new maps, glider parts, and collect masks to help you come to a final decision on your true calling at the game's close. Cards on the table, the game does have some performance issues, enough to put off less patient players for sure. However, if you're willing to cut this game some slack, you'll enjoy one of the most enigmatically beautiful and immersive open world games on the market. Plus, zipping around on the glider is worth the price of admission alone. So do yourself a favour and give Seable a try. In at number 5 we have Valheim. Next up we have a game that is billed as a traditional survival game, but in truth, it plays like more of an open world adventure RPG. Valheim sees you play as a Nordic warrior who must brave the harsh and unforgiving procedurally generated world of Valheim. You'll start from nothing to build an arsenal of weapons, armor, ships and more, capable of aiding you in exploring the land and taking down the mythical Norse creatures of the realm. Despite this being an early access, Valheim offers a pretty polished adventure that can be enjoyed with up to 4 other friends, and thanks to the sandbox survival mechanics, even when you wrap up all of the story content, there are plenty of ways to remain engaged with the world of Valheim by building awesome bases, continually improving your weapons and fleet of ships, and with regular updates, there's usually a reason to hop back in on the regular. All in all, if you're looking for a Viking adventure that will offer a steep challenge and allow you to share your adventure with others, Valheim is the one for you. In at number 6 we have Shadows of Doubt. Here's a game that popped up in our best indie game detective list, the incredible procedurally generated detective epic Shadows of Doubt. The problem with a lot of detective games is that when you solve the whodunit, there's usually no way to capture that feeling of intrigue again. Well, Shadows of Doubt solves that problem by using procedural generation to create endless murder cases and side quests through this meticulously crafted yet fully customizable open world city. In this city, you'll be able to access literally every building and every room in each building, plus you'll be able to access every personal computer, check everyone's ID, blood type, shoe size, schedule, you name it. Plus, you'll be able to create intricate case notes for each case you try to crack. In short, it's the ultimate sandbox game for anyone who would like to try their hand at being a vigilante detective. Now, because the game is still in early access, there are still some kinks to work out, but we are very confident that Shadows of Doubt will eventually iron out all of these creases to offer one of the most open and polished detective games ever made, so watch this space. In at number 7 we have Dredge. Ever since I played the PS1 demo disc containing a snippet of the game Overboard, I had longed for a game that allowed me to explore the world by simply sailing a boat, and it would take over 20 years before that would become a reality. Dredge is a fishing and resource management game with an eldritch horror twist that will have you catch fish, upgrade your ship, and explore the archipelago around you to uncover a sinister mystery that lurks under the surface. It's a game that has one of those one more day gameplay loops akin to Stardew Valley, for example, and the game's subtle horror mechanics are also masterfully implemented. However, the game also succeeds thanks to the game's focus on offering the player the freedom to explore the main islands in any order they like and engage with whatever quests interest them the most, meaning this is yet another indie game open world done right. I do feel the game does run out of steam a little towards the end as upgrades and the player rewards become less frequent and interesting, and the horror aspect of the game becomes less spooky, but overall, Dredge is a wonderful indie title well worth checking out. In at number 8 we have Tshia. We head to New Caledonia for our next entry, Tshia, which is an open world game where you will explore an idyllic tropical archipelago and get to know a series of colourful characters that represent the true-to-life inhabitants of New Caledonia. From a world-building perspective, Tshia is a game that really takes authenticity seriously, as it aims to showcase the real-world locale in all its glory, with real customs, relationships, struggles, music, and locations in keeping with New Caledonia. which culminates in a lovingly crafted world that looks staggeringly pretty and is a joy to explore, especially because of the soul jumping mechanic that allows you to jump into the body of any animal you choose to get around, which is a lot of fun. I will concede that this is undoubtedly a flawed gem, as the story is a little rejected Pixar project-esque, and the combat sections are handled about as poorly as I have ever seen in a video game. However, I would still say that Tshia is something that you should check out, as the love for the region practically oozes out of this title, and for someone who loves open world gaming, Tshia may just scratch that itch. In at number 9 we have Core Keeper. Most open world games will throw you right in at the deep end by placing you in a huge world where you can go off in any direction and do just about anything you like. Well, Core Keeper does that as well, but to avoid overwhelming players to the point of choice paralysis, you'll begin in a closed off mining area and you'll gradually have to create underground pathways to expand your world and explore beyond your starting area. Technically speaking, you could just mine in one direction and explore the most high level areas of the game if that's what you're intent on doing, but the goal here is to explore, gather materials, craft new machines, gear and items, and use these new tools to reach new areas, battle monsters, and find a way to power the core to uncover the secrets of the realm. However, much like games like Stardew Valley and its community centre, completing the main quest doesn't signal the end, and Core Keeper has hundreds of hours worth of content for you to delve into if you're willing to commit to the miner's life. It's a brilliant game, and it's only getting better with consistent updates, so get your pickaxe and get to work. In at number 10 we have Terraria. It would be unfair to mention Core Keeper without shouting out its inspiration, Terraria, a game that essentially plays like a 2D Minecraft in a lot of ways, but that description is a little reductive, as Terraria in 2023 is far more than a second-rate Minecraft clone. It's an open-world sandbox survival adventure with a treasure trove of content to uncover. Terraria accommodates all types of players, whether you're an adventurer who seeks a fitting test in combat, or if you're more of a casual player who wants to explore, craft, and create a world in your own image. Terraria provides for all. Then just when you think there's nothing more Terraria could possibly offer as a player, you'll discover an active and thriving community, endless amounts of mod content, and consistent free updates from a developer who simply can't stop adding to his beloved creation. Terraria has been around for well over a decade, and yet the open world game still feels fresh and interesting, which is a testament to how well designed this game is and how much content there is to be enjoyed. So for all these reasons and more, Terraria is one of the best open world indie games around, and you need to give it a try. In at number 11 we have Season: A Letter to the Future. This one may be cheating a little bit, as Season: A Letter to the Future's opening segments have the player move through a series of linear areas. However, when the player arrives in Tshia Valley, the game opens up, offering a pocket-sized open world for players to explore, documenting history for later generations as they go. This responsibility to document history is at the centre of Season: A Letter to the Future's narrative. You play as Estelle, who sets off from her home in Caro Village, intent on documenting the state of the world before the new era comes to wash away the past, meaning your journal is the only link between the past and the present, and you'll be the one who can document history for those to see it. It's a tranquil and thought-provoking adventure with plenty of moments of introspection, touching connections between those who remain in Tshia Valley, and you also travel around on your bike, which sounds like a throwaway detail, but it's actually really fun to pedal around and three-wheel downhill, drinking in the stunning vistas. It's a modern take on the walking simulator, and a game with a compelling story to tell. If that sounds like your thing, then be sure to check it out. In at number 12 we have The Forgotten City. If I went up to a random person in the street, held a gun to their head and said, name an open world game, I guarantee you most people would say The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Well, what if I told you that The Forgotten City was born from a Skyrim mod and now serves as an equally impressive open world game in its own right? It's a staggering achievement, especially when you consider that the game offers a rich, story-driven adventure shaped around a time loop mystery. In this title, you find yourself trapped 2,000 years in the past within a pocket-sized Roman city that is governed by the Golden Rule, which is a rule handed down by the gods, which ensures that the city remains completely without sin, or everyone will suffer for the sins of the One. This means that the player will need to find loopholes in this golden rule, use the time loop to their advantage, and find a way to create a time paradox to escape this strange world. It's a game that features some of the finest writing I've ever witnessed in a game of this nature, and while the facial animations are a little bit unsettling, if you can get past that, you'll be blessed with a mystery game that will live long in the memory. In at number 13 we have Cat Quest 2. Up until now, we've been featuring open worlds that succeed due to their detail and how clever they are in terms of content and design. Well, what about an open world that boils everything down to its simplest form and then fills in the spaces with animal puns? Well, Cat Quest 2 is a title that focuses on just that, offering a super accessible and silly open world RPG where you gradually build up your weapons and armor, complete quests, and help restore balance to the world around you. It's about as simple as it gets as far as gameplay goes. You have the ability to use attacks, dodges, and spells to get through each encounter, and the rest of the time you'll be exploring a rather literal map and helping the cast of cats and dogs put aside their differences to take down Lionel and Wolfen once and for all. The real draw of this game is that it is a very accessible and enjoyable couch co-op adventure that just about any level of gamer can pick up and play. So if you want to introduce some beginner gamers to the open world genre and the RPG genre, this is a good starter game for either. In at number 14 we have Minute. A third game about perpetual time loops? You have to be kidding, right? Well, no, I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Time loop games are awesome. Minute is a game that can be played in 60-second spells, and in this time you'll be able to explore an open world setting and try to make changes to your surroundings or pick up key items that will allow you to get a little further, unlock a new starting location, or unlock new areas to explore. It's essentially a boiled down retro Zelda game combined with a mind-bending puzzle game, which will ask players to experiment with the world around them, optimize their routes, and by the time you're done, you'll know each pixel of this little monochrome world like the back of your hand. It's a short game that you could easily complete within a few hours, but every single minute of this game will be a blast. So if you want an open world puzzle game with a twist, Minute is the way to go. In at number 15 we have Moonstone Island. Next we have Moonstone Island, a game that aims to take the tried and tested Stardew Valley formula and shake things up to offer a game that is less about small town vibes and more about open-ended adventure. Moonstone Island will act as your hub where you can pursue romantic interests, create a base and farm, and generally act as a member of the greater community. However, this game succeeds due to two unique gameplay mechanics. One is the turn-based card mechanics akin to Slay the Spire, which marries together nicely with the Pokemon-esque creature taming. Then secondly, you have the open-ended exploration, which allows you to explore 100 interconnected islands, clear dungeons, and uncover the secrets of the world. It's a game that offers a perfect blend between Stardew Valley farming, sim coziness, and Zelda-esque exploration. It's a game that allows you to go at your own pace, and has plenty of natural discoveries for you to make along the way, so pick your preferred spirit and get going. In at number 16 we have Pacific Drive. Again, this is one that I desperately wanted to crowbar in here, because while it isn't a completely open world, as you will constantly be looping back to your garage in a roguelike format, it is a game with a lot of open world qualities. In Pacific Drive, you play as the driver, a soul lost to the Olympic Peninsula, and your goal is to use a beat-up station wagon to navigate this new weird setting and to find a way to escape the irregularity. This game feels like an open world title when you're out on excursions for parts, as the peculiar and unpredictable nature of the peninsula will have you barreling down cliffs, battling radiation, uncovering oddities in the wild, and discovering what in the name of the Dharma Initiative happened to this place. Again, I must state clearly that this is not a fully open world, but due to the depth of systems, the detail of the world, and the semi-randomized nature of each route, you can easily convince yourself that it is. It's unlike anything I've ever played before in the best way possible, so be sure to get behind the wheel of this one real soon. In at number 17, we have Palworld. If you managed to avoid the flash success of Palworld in January, then you truly must have been out of things. But for those unaware, it basically got the same wild reception as Helldivers 2 would get a month later. Palworld's elevator pitch is that it's Pokemon with guns, and on that alone, millions of players hopped on to experience what this open world survival hit had to offer. Having poured hours into this one myself, I can say that this is more than just a cheap cash grab to ruffle Nintendo's feathers. The survival systems are fun and satisfying, the battling and creature taming are top notch, and exploring this vast open world is actually rewarding, which is something that can often not be said about early access survival games. The world building tends to come a little bit later. It's a game that exceeded my expectations by some distance and will only get better with time. So you can either let this one incubate for a little bit longer or hop into early access to enjoy this one right now. In at number 18 we have Little Gator Game. What is gaming if not a more adult-friendly version of playtime? Well, this is a notion that Little Gator Game grabs and runs with to create a pocket-sized platformer with an open-world setting based on childish whimsy and imagination. From a gameplay perspective, the game is a boiled down and super accessible Zelda game at heart, but the real selling point of this game is the cozy feel, the writing, the satisfying mechanics, and above all, the ability to provide a Zelda-inspired game with puzzles, combat, and quests with no urgency and no stakes. As a self-professed expert in all things 3D platformers, I, with no hesitation, would say that Little Gator Game, perhaps alongside Tinykin, is the most accomplished and unique mascot platformer game of the modern era, and that's why you need to give it a try. In at number 19, we have Firewatch. A sign of a truly well-made open world is one that feels great to just exist within, regardless of quests, storylines, or objectives, and Firewatch is a game that nails that. Firewatch at its core features a touching story of a man getting over a tragic loss by taking himself away from it all to become a forest ranger, only to find that this job might not be as uneventful as he might have hoped. It's a game with masterful writing and quintessentially accessible and low-effort walking simulator gameplay, which allows the setting, the story, and the characters within the game to take center stage. However, when all is said and done, it's the world of Firewatch that stays with you. This is perhaps why the player is offered the chance to simply free roam through the forest when the credits roll, and there is even an audio tour mode where you can learn more about your setting as you might do when visiting a real national park. It's a game I would wholeheartedly recommend, but just be prepared for an emotional time and a gut punch or two along the way. And in at number 20 we have Tunic. Lastly, we have Tunic, a game that takes the retro top-down Zelda formula and then builds on these strong foundations to offer an adventure game that feels like the best possible version of what it's trying to be. Tunic sees you start from humble beginnings with no understanding of the world around you, from your surroundings to the language used in this world, and your job is to decipher this, explore, solve puzzles, fight monsters, and so much more. It's a game where knowledge is power, and without spoiling anything, that's something you'll see firsthand if you choose to replay the game, and that in part is down to the clever world design. It's a game that also has wonderful accessibility settings, so it's as challenging or as cozy as you want it to be, and no matter what you choose, it's still a worthwhile and rewarding adventure. So if you've been waiting for a great new top-down adventure game akin to the Minish Cap or A Link to the Past, Tunic is the game you'll want to check out. Well, there you have it, guys. You asked for it and we delivered. 20 amazing indie open worlds that offer some of the most rich adventures and exploration based gaming that you can buy on the market today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot. It helps us grow. We're doing well at the moment, but we can definitely do a lot better with your support. But until then, I've been Cal, and I'll see you next time.